a very good meaning to all pious yogis. This evening, our talk shall be based on the sutta, which is known as Loka Sutta, or the world. So the teachings of the Buddha are known as sutta, which means a track. When the carpenters wants to saw off a piece of timber, so the carpenter has to draw a straight line using a thread. Similarly, when we want to live a holy life, we must use a thread or sutta to draw straight lines in our actions. So the Buddha has taught us or given us liner or instructions on how to straighten our actions. Or in other words, when we want to undertake the training in morality or sila sikha, training in concentration, samadhi sikha, and training wisdom, panya sikha, we must follow the line, or it means we cannot go out of the line. So when we want to develop wisdoms, so we have to develop mindfulness in accordance with the teaching of the sutta. There's Mahasatipatthana Sutta. So meditators have to practice all the four foundation of mindfulness. They can't choose one out of the four foundations in order to develop wisdom. So actually all these suttas, including Mahasatipatthana Sutta, lead us to realize or to understand one sutta. So this sutta is quite important. It's not found outside your world. This sutta might have different names. When you are born, your parents give you a name. So this sutta could be given a name as John by his parents, or a name Mary, or by her parents. But all the teachings leads us to understand this sutta. Whatever names given to this sutta by their parents, there's nothing different from each other in the ultimate realities. So this sutta is not different from each other. It only consists of nama rupa, mental and physical phenomena. So as long as one has not realized the true natures of nama rupa, then they cling to this idea of a self, or a person, a soul. In other words, as long as one has realized the interrelationship between the mind or mentality and the physicality, then they may take these mental and physical phenomena as permanent, everlasting, and so on. So if you do read many suttas in the book or internet, do you think you can understand your own sutta? So which sutta is more important to you? The sutta, whether sutta that you found in the book, internet, or your own sutta. So it's very important to read your own sutta. So how to read this own sutta? How to know this own sutta? So the Buddha taught us the only way. There's mindfulness, or the practice of four foundation of mindfulness. So in other words, we have to realize the true nature of this own sutta through direct experience or personal experience. So during the practice, you have to put aside the knowledge of various sutta that you have been reading from the book or from the internet. Even you do read a lot of suttas from the book or from the internet, and then you analyze or thinking about what you have read or listened from others. All this knowledge or wisdoms do not overcome all your defilements, do not overcome your sufferings. Because that knowledge from the book that doesn't have the power to remove your own mental defilements. So it's important to understand the guidelines of practice well. There's to be mindful of every phenomenon and know it as it really occurs. It's not possible to search for something or look for something in these meditations. But meditators can mindful of an object because that object has arising at that moment. So when we practice mindfulness meditation, we want to realize the truth, the ultimate truth. So we can only realize the truth through direct experience or by actual seeing. We can only realize the ultimate truth by direct experience or by actually seeing it. When we talk about the truth, the truth is not only something good, but it's also refer to those that are not good or bad. For example, the Buddha taught us that the truth of the cause of the origin of suffering is tanha or craving. But do you think it's good to have tanha or craving? Do you think it's good to have tanha or to increase more and more craving in life? So if craving is increasing, it might lead to more and more suffering in life. Yet the Buddha say this is a noble truth. So when we talk about the truth, it's not only about something very lofty, very noble, but it also refers to those who are not nobles. So during the practice of mindfulness meditation, so when meditators could develop mindfulness well, then they begin to see cause and effect or conditionality. So we have discussed it in the previous talk. The arising of mentality is dependent on physicality, and in the physicality is arising dependent on mentality. So in other words, they could condition each other to arise. So the condition is also subject to the nature of impermanence. In other words, it's not everlasting. If the condition is permanent or everlasting, then do you think that we are able to attain enlightenment? If the condition or the cause of suffering is tanha, if tanha is a permanent mental state, then it's not possible for us to attain enlightenment. So if tanha is a permanent state, then it's not possible to attain any stage of enlightenment. So when one could see conditionality well, then they come to realize the teachings of dependent origination better and better. So the important teachings of Paticca say that when this exists, that comes to be, with the arising of this, that arises. When this does not exist, that does not come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases. So when you are mindful of any physical phenomena that's arising, for example during sitting meditation, then you come to realize that because there's a movements, rising movements, a process rising movements, that's why you can mindful and know it. If there's a object hardness arising, then the mindfulness will be arising because there's this condition. So if meditators rightly understand this teaching, then they should know that they should not search for an object during meditations. So when the process of rising movements has disappeared, then what will happen to that process of mindfulness or the noting mind? That process mindfulness also will pass away or disappear. It's because the condition that caused the arising of the mindfulness had disappeared. So the mindfulness which is arising depending on that condition, you also subject to passing away. That's why the Paticca say that when this does not exist, that does not come to be. So if there's no rising movements, then there's no arising of mindfulness. With the cessation of this, that ceases. So when the rising movements, the process of rising movements has ceased, so that process of mindfulness or noting mind, you also subject to cessations, or in other words, you cease. So the word cease or cessation means it does not exist anymore. So when there's a condition, then there will be arising of another process of mindfulness or the noting mind. So that process of mindfulness which is arising subsequently is another new process, it's not the previous process of mindfulness. But at the beginning of practice, meditators could not see clearly because the mindfulness is not sharp and concentration is not deep enough. At the beginning of the practice, meditators could not see the process of object clearly. For example, the process of rising movements, falling movements during sitting meditation, or the processes of lifting, pushing, dropping during walking meditation, and so on. If meditators could not see clearly the true natures of the physical phenomena, then it's also difficult to see the true natures of the mental phenomena. Mental states or mentality are very subtle. But at the beginning of practice, physical phenomena are caused. Cause means can be perceived quite easily by the mind or the consciousness. So we have to start with something with the phenomena which are quite caused, in other words, can be easily perceived by the mind. And among so many physical phenomena, movements or motion is quite clear or quite distinct. So when meditators could perceive and mindful of every process of movements clearer and clearer, eventually they come to realize the specific characteristics of the wind element. So when meditators are able to realize clearly the various process of movements, eventually they also could perceive clearly other physical phenomena. For example, meditators could experience clearly hardness as hardness. It's not hardness of the bone or the hardness of the floor, but there's merely an experience of hardness and as hardness. Then eventually meditators could realize clearly the consciousness which is arising dependent on the physical phenomena. If meditators have not yet realized clearly the true nature of the physical phenomena, then it's not possible to see clearly the process of consciousness or the mindfulness. So this sutta is about the world, where the Buddha explained how does this world arise. So the world or loka here refers to sankara loka, or it's not satta loka. So the Buddha explains about the origin of this world and the passing away of the world. So the Buddha says independence on the eye and the forms. Forms means the visible object or visible form. Then the eye consciousness arises. So the meeting of these three means the eye, the visible objects or the form, and eye consciousness is contact. So with this, with the contact as condition, then feelings come to be. So we can say that when there's this contact, then feelings come to be. In other words, the arising of condition, the arising of feeling has its condition, or the condition is a contact. So with feeling as condition, then craving comes to be. Or in other words, when feeling exists, then craving comes to be. So with this craving as condition, clinging comes to be. So with clinging as condition, bhava comes to be. So with bhava as condition, birth comes to be. So with birth as condition, then there are aging and death, or sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure, and despair comes to be. So the Buddha says this is the origin of loka, or the world. Then the Buddha explains in a similar way the other 5 sense bases, those dependent on ear and sound and so on, or dependent on nose and odor, or dependent on tongue and taste, or dependent on body and tangible object, or dependent on the mind and mental phenomena. So don't you think so? This is your world. Through these 6 sense bases, you come into contact with the world, the outer world. So when there's this contact, then you are able to gain the experience of the world. Do you think there are more than that? So your world is only circle around or running round and round within these 6 sense spaces, or in those 6 sense doors. So in this world is suffering or happy. When this world, for example, come to associate with unpleasant condition, something you dislike or averse to it, or then how do you feel? So the Buddha says this is one of the truth of suffering. And then when there's a separation of this world with the present condition, or something you love very much, or then how will be the feeling? So you also you experience another proof of suffering. So that's why the commentary to the Samyutta Nikaya glosses this loka as the dukkha satya. But if one doesn't develop the path, then one will not realize this proof of suffering. If one doesn't develop this path, then one shall never realize this proof of suffering. So what is this path? The path is the middle path, or in other words, the noble eightfold path. So it is important to understand the noble eightfold path, and must bear in mind, either keep in mind the expectors of the path. So this this arising of the path is due to the practice. So in one of the sutta, the Buddha says true knowledge is the foreigners in the entry upon wholesome states with a sense of shame or hearing and fear of wrongdoing or tapa following alone. True knowledge is a kamma sakata. So kamma sakata yana means the knowledge that one is the owner of one's actions. One is the heir of the actions. Verse 1 shall inherit the results of the actions of kamma dayata. Then the third is known as karma yoni. The origins of the birth is karma. The fourth is karma bantu. Karma is our relations or relative. In other words, the relationship between you and your actions or karma is very intimate. The relationship between you and your action is so intimate, so even more intimate than your relationship with your friends, with your boyfriends, girlfriends, husband or wife. Do you think so? So it's so close to you, it will follow to you everywhere, even to the next life. Let's say when you are about to pass away, you're afraid to go alone to the next world, then can you ask your friends or relatives to come along with you? Not possible. But only karma will love you and follow you. So there's the meaning of karma bantu. So the fifth is karma patisarana. Karma is your real refuge or protection. So this knowledge is the foreigners in the entry of wholesome states with a sense of shame and fear of wrongdoing. As you know, Hiri and Otapa are known as Lokapala, the protectors of the world. So it is not only protecting your world, but also protecting the world outside you. So the sutta said, for a wise person who has arrived at true knowledge and right view or right understanding, samadhi springs up. And for one of right understanding or samadhi, right thoughts or sammasankappa springs up. So for one of right thoughts, sammasankappa, or right speech, sammavajja springs up. So for one of right speech or sammavajja, right action springs up or sammakamanta. So for one of right action, sammakamanta, samma-ajiva, or right livelihood springs up. So for one of right livelihood or samma-ajiva, right effort springs up or samma-vayama springs up. So for one of right effort, samma-vayama, then right mindfulness or samasati springs out. For one of right mindfulness, samasati, then right concentration springs out or samasati, samasamadhi. But in actual practice, any factors of the path may arise. But if one aspire to develop the path fully, then one must take out the practice of Satipatthana meditations. In other words, one has to develop the factor of right mindfulness, which consists of the four foundations of mindfulness. Other factors of the path can only arise together with the right mindfulness. So when you practice mindfulness, you have to put forth effort or mental effort. The word right, such as right effort, right mindfulness, and so on, the word right implies that one has put forth enough effort and realizing the true natures of mental and physical phenomena. So similarly, right mindfulness, or the word right implies that when there's right mindfulness, then one you realize the true natures of mental and physical phenomena. So as long as mindfulness meditators have not yet realized the true natures of mental and physical phenomena, in other words, their specific characteristics as well as their common characteristics, then they have to increase the effort gradually. So effort is the foundation of the success. Similarly, if you wish to be successful in life or in career, so you need to put forth effort, striving diligently in order to achieve the aim of life. So similarly, meditators need to put forth effort in order to realize the ultimate aim of the spiritual training. So meditators need not have to spend any mental effort in thinking or analyzing of the phenomena or the experience and so on. We can only realize the true natures of mental physical phenomena when we have developed sharp mindfulness and deep concentration. We can say that the truth is there. Whether or not we can see it, it all depends on our mindfulness, concentration, and wisdom. So meditators need to put forth effort so that they can mindful of whatever phenomenon that's arising at one of the six bases. But at the beginning of practice, it's not easy to perceive the consciousness clearly. For example, the consciousness of seeing, the consciousness of hearing, the consciousness of smelling, and so on. So whenever meditators hear any sound or noise, in fact, the mindfulness or the attention of mind has gone to the sound or the noise. So only when meditators could develop sharper and sharper mindfulness and deep concentration, then they shall be able to perceive the consciousness clearly, which is arising dependent on the physical phenomena. The sound is the external rupa, or the ear door is another rupa. So when this sound comes into contact with the ear door, then the consciousness will be arising. So meditators have to put forth effort. It's because of that effort, meditators shall be able to be mindful of every process of the phenomenon precisely or attentively. Meditators should not exercise any form of control over the process of the phenomenon, for example, the movements of rising, falling, or the processes of dipping, pushing, dropping, so that in order to mindful and know it precisely. But when they keep on practicing, increasing the effort gradually, then the mindfulness and will be getting more and more attentive, precise to the process. So when the mindfulness are getting more and more attentive and precise, and is the last of getting more and more constant and continuous, then meditators shall begin to gain concentration. So during the practice, there's enough factor of the path. There's samasankappa, right thoughts, which is a mental state of vitakka. So this vitakka or initial application that lead the mind to the objects or the phenomenon again and again. So it doesn't involve any form of thinking, analyzing. So when concentration is deep enough, or in other words, meditators have attained momentary concentration, then there will be arising of insight knowledge. So that insight knowledge is right understanding of true nature of mental and physical phenomena through personal experience or direct experience. And at each moment of mindfulness, the mind is also abstained from wrong speech or wrong actions, wrong livelihood. So in other words, when there's the attainment of Khanika Samadhi, then at that moment all the factors of the path are arising. But that path is still known as mundane path or Lokya Magga. It's because none of the defilements have not yet uprooted. So when meditators keep on practicing, if they are able to attain, for example, the first stage of supramundane path, then that path uprooted mental defilements or ditthi and vicikicca, or wrong will and doubt. So the foundations of the progress of the practice is seeing cause effect or conditionality clearly. In other words, at each moment, there's only a pair of processes and object, and the other process is the mindfulness and the noting mind. There's not even a self realizing the insight knowledge. So meditators have to develop mindfulness constantly, continuously, for longer and longer period of time. So when they are able to see the passing away of the phenomena clearly, as well as the noting mind or the mindfulness, then they begin to understand what is cessation. What is cessation, or begins to understand cessation. So the second part of this sutta, or Loka Sutta, the Buddha explained what is the passing away of the Loka. So the Buddha explained independence on I and forms, or in those visible object, or the I consciousness arises. So the meeting of these three is contact. These three are the I, the forms of the visible object and the eye consciousness. So with contact as condition, feelings come to be. And with feeling as condition, or craving come to be. But with the relentless fading away and cessation of that same craving comes cessation of clinging. So if we follow the teaching of dependent origination, then we come to realize that when this does not arise, that does not come to be. Thus, when craving does not exist, then clinging does not come to be. With the cessation of this, that ceases. It means with the cessation of this craving, clinging ceases. So we have to understand the 12 links of dependent origination in this way, either in the order of arising or in the order of cessations. So with the cessation of clinging, upadana, then cessation of existence of bhava. So with the cessation of bhava, then there is a cessation of a birth or jati. So with the cessation of birth, then aging and death, or sorrow, lamentation, or pain, displeasure, and despair cease. So thus is the cessation of the whole mass of suffering, or this is the passing away of the loka, or the world. So in the words, the feeling of the inner world depends very much on your actions. So do you think so? Your feelings of your inner world depends very much on your own actions. So if you understand this, then you know the significance of the teaching of karma, or we are the owners of our actions. So in order to live happily, that's why you have to be mindful of your own world, or this very own sutta. So the sutta means the thread, the thread. That sutta or thread helps you to strengthening your mind, so that it's no longer crooked. Crooked means like not straightforward or not honest. So if the heart or the mind is not straightforward or is crooked, then one may not live happily. So just like the carpenter using the thread to draw a straight line. So that the carpenter will know which parts of the wood or the timber which is unwanted. So similarly, we use this sutta as a guideline, so that we can cut off those unwholesome conduct or unwholesome actions. So we have to follow the teachings of Buddha, using the teaching as a track, in order to take out the trainings, the training in morality, or training in concentration, and training in distance. So all this training is to ennoble one's own world. In other words, the teacher Buddha make you become a noble person, or noble-minded person. So I wish meditators could practice mindful meditation in accordance with the teaching of Buddha, especially the teaching of Mahasatipatthana Sutta, so that you shall develop mindfulness rightly, correctly, and tread on the path of vipassana, the development insight knowledge till the attainment of the final goal. Is the ultimate purity of mind.
สาธุ สาธุ สาธุ